Welcome to the Greener Way podcast, a show about people, planet, and purpose, and how investors and corporate leaders push forward in a complex world. We're joined by Nuveen's Global Head of Private Impact, Rekha Unnithan. Impact investing and the ability to invest to achieve real-world social and environmental outcomes, as well as financial returns, is a hot topic in investing. So it's a real pleasure to speak with you again, Rekha.
Very nice to be with you, Rachel.
Let's start from the ground up. What is impact investing and how do you define it in the private markets at Nuveen, Rekha?
Yeah, sure. So impact investing fundamentally is the investment practice of investing in companies that are projects, in our case, companies that are creating a solution to a problem statement. In our case, it is creating a product or service that is affordable and well situated and well priced for a low-income individual to access things like financial services, healthcare, and education. Or it's an investment in a company that's addressing climate change and bringing a solution to the market, helping reduce carbon emissions, reducing waste. So essentially, investments focused on creating solutions to big social and environmental problems. And importantly, having an orientation that's intentional, intentionally trying to back these companies, intentionally providing them capital and helping them with strategy to create these solutions, reach more people, reach more markets to grow as part of the solution. And then finally, measuring the impact we are looking to have and then reporting on that impact.
I think intentionality is one of my favorite words in the sustainable investment space because it captures so beautifully that human mission.
That's right.
To extend the point a little bit further, Nuveen recently released research covering institutional investors like super funds. I love the framing of one of the themes, from rethink to redefine and reallocate. How are investors meeting those dramatic short and long-term changes and then taking action along that continuum, Rekha?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And if you really think about the rethink part of it is for a long time, investing essentially externalized topics of people and planet. And rethinking means really realizing that these are not externalities. These are very much part of our investment portfolios, how we live, how we work, how we hope to sustain this climate and the people in it, on it. And so rethinking is really taking a step back and saying, how should we go about investing if we truly care that we want to mitigate the impacts of climate change, slow the effects of climate change, and really transition to a greener economy. And importantly, what does it mean with this growing population to be more inclusive, to have a society that's functioning, that has access and has less inequality as part of its paradigm? So that's a rethinking. And that rethinking and that pause helps us to think about the opportunity, both in terms of costs if you don't do that, and also opportunity in if you do incorporate those themes. And so for impact investing, for instance, that means opening up to thinking about new ways of investing, backing business models that maybe weren't necessarily seen as traditional ways of doing business. But as we know, with the growing population and the generations to come, purpose means not just having a job and having an income and retiring. It actually means having purpose and kind of contributing to society along the way. And so the redefining is allowing for an investment process that incorporates those. And the third one, you'll have to remind me.
Reallocate.
And reallocate, exactly. Once you rethink and you redefine, and then you can put money to work, right? In these themes that are extremely compelling.
There's often a shibboleth around sustainable investing and particularly impact investing that when you prioritize purpose, whether it's social or environmental, that might come at a financial cost. Do you find that that's the case in your strategy, Rekha?
Absolutely not. And in fact, just given who we invest for, which is institutions and retirees and families and investing for the long term, we absolutely play in the part of the market where the business models that create purpose are working in lockstep and becoming successful when they're able to do that profitably. So we're typically taking significant minority stakes in companies that have proven that they can serve a customer in a unique way, bring a product or service to market that's differentiated and creating a social or environmental good. And at the time when we invest in them, they have proven that they can do this so profitably. And what they really need is additional capital, aligned capital, institutional capital like ours, who cares about purpose but also cares about returns, to help them scale to that next phase of growth. And so, by design, we are looking to back companies that have lockstep business models where purpose and profits work in concert with each other, further each other's goals, and the strategy that drives these companies and our investment thesis is that dual orientation.
Excellent. Well, in a minute, Rekha, I'm going to ask you for almost a mini case study in action when I ask you about a recent investment that you made as a lead investor. But before we get there, in talking with people, no matter where they are in the investment value chain, one of the things I frequently hear is this focus on real world outcomes, which to me is just another word for impact, or impact is another word for real world outcomes. However, whichever side of the desk you sit on, how do you talk about real world impacts, and how do investment allocations achieve that through a private market strategy?
Yeah. So real world outcomes is absolutely one way to talk about impact, and you can think about it in terms of positive outcomes, neutral outcomes, or negative outcomes, right? And every
Mm-hmm.
investment has an impact. We're just trying to
Mm,
move in impact investing where we have an outsized positive impact, and mitigate any negative impacts of those investments. And so, real world outcomes basically means that we have a gap in the market with respect to either a product or a service, and you have a company that has innovated on what best way to serve a customer, best way to solve a problem, while offering a product into the market that makes sense to address that problem in some meaningful way, right? And so, certainly, as we talk through investment examples, like those topics come to light. But yeah, these are real world things, right? Are When you think about climate change, obviously, we know that we have to address this today or yesterday. And
mhm,
a lot of capital, change in customer behavior, institutional behavior, global behavior has to happen to make that a reality. But also, we know that the way we operate daily is changing. I mean, you go to a restaurant and you look at a takeaway container, and kind of the materials used in that are different now, and they should be uniformly versus what they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And so everything about kind of how we operate is changing. And in there lies actually an investment case, right? Similarly, from Nuveen's perspective, we own a lot of significant real assets. We're large investors in real estate, farmland, timber,
mm,
infrastructure, and those value chains are fast focusing on sustainability, needing to lower the carbon footprint, reducing waste, and becoming greener. And so the value proposition for us as impact investors is how can we help large value chains, expedite their transition to a cleaner, greener, less wasteful way of conducting themselves. And there, there's just fantastic opportunities, and there are real world solutions, right? How does a building become green? It doesn't happen
mm,
overnight. It requires, several interventions. And on the social side, frankly, you have in parts of the world, India is a big market where we invest. You have a very young population, young growing population that is, demanding products and services and access, and particularly with respect to lower income emerging customers, the tremendous appetite for affordable but well priced and well curated financial services, healthcare, and education access, and an ability for a customer to use a share of their wallet to invest in those and to purchase those, but has to be created appropriately to serve that customer. It cannot be created in the same way it is created to serve a high income customer. And so these are all real world opportunities, and impact investing has a great challenge and an opportunity to be able to back these businesses.
mm. I think one of the things I appreciate about talking about real world impacts and talking about positive, neutral, and negative is that it attacks what I think is sort of the false dichotomy of externalities. I think as impact and in sort of real world impact from the negative sense gets more integrated into that investment chain, the space of what is external to an organization sort of dwindles
Yeah,
down to an appropriate level.
that's right. No, that's a
Yeah.
really That's a really important observation.
The other one I really look forward to disappearing is that false dichotomy of financial versus non-financial. If it's something that impacts a company, it is per force
That's
financial.
right. That's right. It just depends on when it's going to impact. Is it short term or long term, right? At the end of the day,
Exactly.
that's also an important nuance about impact investors. In fact, all investors are long term. They just choose to act in short or long term time frames. But impact investing inherently is long term, right? And that I don't mean forever. I mean that you back a problem statement with a solution, and you have to kind of see it through, right? And so you cannot externalize and say, "Oh, we don't have to address this, and so we will do something else." We already want to address it, and we have the level of perseverance, strategy, and structure to go and solve a problem and kind of help scale solutions to that problem.
And I think, certainly from the IPC sixth report, sort of demonstrating that the things that we thought were long-term or non-financial impacts are right here, right
That's
now in
right.
front of us.
That's right. That's right.
So I flagged before that I wanted to ask you about sort of a mini case study here, Rekha. You recently made an investment in a firm called EcoZen based in India.
Yes.
Can you walk us through what EcoZen does, why you find it important from an environmental perspective, and why this investment was meaningful to Nuveen?
100%. Very, very excited about our investment in EcoZen. We made a $12.5 million investment in this company. From the period of time we identified this company and we closed our investment in it, the company has more than doubled its revenues and profitability. Of course, by a lot of hard work and perseverance and market traction for the products this company has, but also just because of the significant demand for the solutions that they bring to the table. So just really quickly, what does EcoZen do? EcoZen is an India-based solar pump and micro cold storage manufacturing company with very deep climate tech technology embedded. The company essentially has two product lines. One is it has created a very cost-effective solar-powered water pump sold to smallholder farmers in India that has a controller that is part of the solution, which allows for analytics, remote on-off switch, and a lot of great service features that don't exist in kind of pumps generally in the Indian landscape. Very importantly, it replaces diesel-powered water pumps in India, and Indian ag contributes to 2/3 of Indian GDP, and so and many farms, a vast majority of farms are still off the grid, and so a solar-powered solution for irrigation is really, really critical. So you can just see that kind of very clear impact and climate mitigation story there. The second product line it has, which is growing fast, is micro cold storage. Essentially, imagine you're an Indian farmer, you have just harvested your fruits, vegetables, or horticulture, and you have no option today but to just go and sell it in the market, what they call a mandi in India. And you just have price discovery there. Whatever the trader is willing to pay you, you offload your goods. And then there's a period of time when these goods get from the mandi all the way into the store shelves and then finally to the end customer. And there's a ton of food wastage. This is not an Indian problem. Food waste is a big problem globally. And the stats are kind of staggering how much food kind of gets wasted from harvest to end consumer and are spoiled. So micro cold storage, essentially think about a small shipping container size unit that is solar PV enabled and has intellectual property and patents around the self-standing cooling structure, not connected to the grid. Again, we talked about farms are not connected to the grid. Lots of other parts of the Indian value chain are not connected to the grid. And so a cold storage solution that's small scale, serving groups of farmers or others around the e-grocery value chain, really, really critical. Once again, that product has a food waste element, but it also has a farmer productivity and income element, right? So what's really exciting about EcoZen and what they're doing is they're meeting a very much significant demand. They're taking their technology as a means to lower the cost of delivering these products and services through a lot of research and focus in this market. The company has been around for 8 years now, and kind of built by engineers and technologists. And now it's taking this company has also taken its solution to sub-Saharan Africa, particularly East Africa, and delivering these products into Kenya and Namibia with very significant gross margins, because sub-Saharan Africa faces some of the same problems that an Indian ag system does, although different parts of them. So super excited about an investment like this one. We will have 2 board seats in the company, excited to engage with the company around innovation, around unlocking more productivity and more access for customers, thinking about embedding finance as part of that. And so, this is our latest investment, and excited for many more to come.
It sounds like another thing I love about the impact sector is the intersectionality. So it sounds like this is, if we're looking at an SDG framework, this hits life on land, it hits zero poverty, it hits climate, it hits, waste reduction, which is sort of a package all at once.
100%. And listen, this investment also sets a very high bar for us to find other investments that do all these things. It is rare to find a company that is so multidimensional in its impact. But I think that's the fun work of impact investors, trying to find this intersectionality, this win-win through business innovation and financial support.
I wanted to follow up with you on this EcoZen particularly as well, because in a previous interview that I had with you, you mentioned the fact that it's not only important to invest in deep tech and find technological solutions to some of these challenges, but that they be priced in a way that's accessible for people like smallholder farmers in India. Does EcoZen hit that bar as well?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why it works, right? Because I was just, talking to another investor who asked, well, is it climate or is it social? And I said, well, the cool thing is it's both. And actually what makes it social is because of the price point at which this technology is delivered. And the reason it's delivered is because the entire company was built to solve a smallholder farmer irrigation access problem. It's a super culturally appropriate solution for the Indian ecosystem. The average farm in India is a small parcel of land under 2 hectares. And so, we can take this technology and of course do solar pumps for large scale farms. But that's been already done. The trick was around being able to offer this at a price point that made sense for a smallholder farmer with the capabilities and technology that have the kind of, something that you would see in climate tech just for a high income customer. So that's the cool part about something like this.
Well, Rekha Unnithan, Global Head of Private Equity for Nuveen, I can't wait to have you back on the next time you find the next EcoZen, because I just love hearing the passion you have for finding these investments. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel, for your interest and support.
Thanks for listening to the Greener Way podcast. If you liked today's show, remember to rate and review us on your podcast platform and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. Any feedback? Contact us on podcast@fssustainability.com.au. I'm Rachel Allen-Backus.
The Greener Way podcast is a product of FS Sustainability, a show about people, the planet, and investing in our collective future. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. The Greener Way podcast gives listeners access to information and educational content provided by discussing numerous financial sustainable options and our featured guests. It is not intended as a substitute for professional, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of The Greener Way are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. FS Sustainability operates under an Australian Financial Service License and the exemption made available under the Corporations Act 2001 in respect to any information or advice given. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the FS Sustainability website, fssustainability.com.au.